So making hay with the deluge, right? And we hear about this big data, this big data, that, but I don't think we should make a difference between and all that means is basically the size of the data, right? It's not and you can do amazing things if you have a small data set which is clean and which is exactly the stuff you need, or the variables, or the data you need for the problem at hand, right? So I think big data is fine, and what that does help is to sort of give you more confidence, because what you're ultimately trying to do is, whenever you're dealing with data, right, you are ultimately looking at a sample of whatever problem you're trying to sort of work at, and you're going to use that sample to sort of analyze and make an inference on the population, right? And that's your ultimate goal, right? So basically, you're working with a sample and making an inference on the population. Uh, the bigger the data set you have, the more closer it's going to be uh, to the population, and we can statistically prove that, okay, which we will cover later on. But making hay with the deluge, right? So and 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 data is coming into companies at a remarkable speed and volume, right? So every time a customer buys a product, right, or likes a social media post or visits a website, it's been recorded sometimes in small manageable data sets, and other times in the form of big data, right? And that's what we just covered. And uh, and, and, and we can go on and on. The immense deluge the likes of the Googles and the Facebooks of the world are handling, and Amazons, right? But when it comes to our lives, right, and regardless of which situation you're in, there is a range of opportunities that can be derived even in situations like the small business we just covered, right? So you could be in a restaurant business, you could be running your own home-based business, and you will have data, right? And let's say you have a social media page, or if you have a blog post, or if you have a website, which page of your website basically is getting most of the views, and how why is it getting most of the views, and how can you improve on that to sort of gain more traction on whatever business you are in, right? So that's just a small example, right? And uh, and uh, and what we are also going to cover in this course is, as we just entail, is some of the things where you come across these stories like this. Okay, eating chiles cuts risk of death from heart attack and stroke, study says, right? What study? How was the study done? What was the data set? What kind of how did they make that inference, right? What was the mechanics? What is the statistics behind it? We're going to look into that, so that you can sometimes look at some of these things either skeptically, or you can sort of take this and run with it, right? And uh, and uh, uh, and data basically helps us make better predictions about the future. It helps us identify causes of certain events, whether, for example, like whether a new retail or a restaurant location is likely to succeed, or or what a reasonable budget for the next fiscal year might look like, right? So if you have data, you can sort of make those kind of predictions, and it also allows us to isolate variables, like say a failed advertising campaign, right? Or a bad quarter, or a poor employee performance, so that we can sort of course correct if necessary. So if we have been tracking, uh, it sort of gives us that, and it also allows us to isolate variables, so that you can identify your customers' wants and needs, or assess the chances an initiative will succeed, right? So data gives us insights on factors affecting an industry or a marketplace, and can inform us um, on our decisions about anything with respect to, say, new product development or hiring choices, and so and so, right? And so we are going to sort of dive a little bit more deeper into some of those things as well, okay? And but uh, but Okay, but this deluge comes with its own sets of issues, right? Uh, so how do we sort through? How do we sort through and make sense of it all, right? And if you have the skills, and you might have the skills, or you have a team of folks, you might probably depending upon the kind of role you are in, right? You might have a team of folks you have to rely on who can process the data for you, right? But if you don't know how to make decisions based off the information you're going to get out of this data, then all you've got is a bunch of numbers, right? So, so it's quickly becoming a requirement, regardless of what domain, what you do, or what you will be doing in whatever domain you are a part of, and hence a basic understanding of data analytics is a must, right? And you don't need to be a statistician or a data scientist to understand what the numbers mean, though we will cover some of that as best as possible, right? So the intent of this course is to sort of equip you with the tools to start off in this journey to eventually become an expert, right? Either in the number crunching itself, or in situations where you would be making decisions off of the numbers being crunched, right? So, and this is a start, right? I'm not sure what stage of the journey you are in, but this is the start of getting to a point where you can go as deep as you want, or you can sort of leave it at a point where you are in a decision making authority, relying on someone else to sort of do the number crunching for you, right? So this could be you, right? And or maybe this is you now, right? So and so it's basically a three-step analytics process, right? So whenever you're dealing with with a set of data, right? And it starts off with gathering the right information, of course. And as I just said, right, it's not about the size of the data which matters. It's about what data you have, right? How clean of that. Okay, so you of course need data, right? So that's obvious. But what data you need and how to get it. It can be sort of less clear, and depending upon the problem to be solved, right? It definitely involves sifting through disparate data sources and manipulating and cleaning and combining them. Okay, it might also involve coming up with your own data by running your own experiments, right? To collect new data that sort of like, so whenever you're doing A to B testing, right, where you're going to change you're basically starting off with a uh, control set, and then you're changing one variable at a time, and you're looking at the effect of that change, right? And so that's called A/B testing. We are also going to explore that. But any data search won't matter if you don't measure the right things, right? And that's where your expertise with respect to the domain you are in, or your domain knowledge of the problem at hand, becomes extremely critical, right? So I think you need anytime you're dealing if you're in the data world, right, trying to get to the bottom of your domain as to what problem you're in, whether you're in finance, in marketing, in HR, or you're dealing with sensor data, machine data. If you know what some of the stuff, like I've seen data scientists work in things like factories, right? What are the different processes involved in making something? What are we tracking? Are we tracking defect rates? And if we are tracking defects, what machines are we tracking? What parameters are we tracking? And so on, so right, so that you can sort of optimize that process or that design to sort of make a better product, right, or a more reliable product, right? And of course analysis. Okay, and this is where all the stuff we will be learning comes in, right? Asking the right questions from data and using data as a crutch is a big aspect of is going to be a big aspect of this course. We'll define predictive analytics and how to use that, and explain concepts like regression, correlation, statistical significance, hypothesis testing, it's a confidence intervals, and all those things also. And you also sort of learn how to assess if machine learning can help solve your problem, and how to proceed if it does, right? And of course communication. So storytelling is going to be big, right? So the most important step in the whole data analytics process is to get to a point to be able to communicate the results of your finding, uh, and use the information to persuade others. So persuasion and storytelling is the only way you're going to drive your decisions forward, right? So data visualization comes in handy, and we are going to cover some of that as well. I might be over promising in terms of what different aspects we are going to cover. So we're going to, okay, let's put it that way. We're going to do as best as we can, okay, to 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 learn as much as possible. And I might also be learning at the same time, right? So I'm not saying that I know everything, but I'm also learning, you're going to learn, and hopefully we're going to learn together, right?